What do you say to people who say that CWA is driven by profit, not the best interests of children?
I would say that, again, respectfully, I would say that you have to be careful who you listen to. And there are shoddy, irresponsible, tabloid, sensational reporting that goes on where people will talk about things told them in secret and unspecified, undocumented accusations. And you have to be careful where you get your information. That's the first thing I would tell them, to be careful. Because not everything you see on TV, not everything you read is going to be truthful. And if you scratch it just a little bit, if you scratch the surface just a little bit, a lot of times you find things aren't as they seem. The second thing I would suggest to them is CWA is a 501c3 organization. They have the privilege in this country, as a citizen of the United States, to check into the financials of any 501c3. I would encourage them to do so. Take a look at Christian World Adoptions. See if they're generating all this cash. If it is all this profit-driven, like some people would allege, where is that cash? You know what you're going to find? You're going to find the cash that comes to CWA goes to desperately needed people in dark, remote corners of this world, people that have no hope anywhere else. What would you say when you make statements that CWA is profit-driven? What would you say is evidence of that? Where does the money go?
I'm not making those statements.
Well, you did.
No.
Well, I can read the transcript for you. You said it was a profit-oriented adoption business. That's your transcript. So can you tell me the evidence you had that CWA is a profit-oriented adoption business?
I would say because of the people that we talked to.
That's a shame. I mean, to disparage someone based on rumor and hearsay is far beneath you.
I'm not doing that, but anyway, we'll go on.
I'm sure.
What do you say to people who say that Christian World Adoption is anything but a Christian organisation?
I guess I don't know how to respond to that because Christian, by its definition, kind of has an individual type flair. I don't really understand the question. What is?
It claims to be a Christian organisation.
It does.
Caring, that obviously would have the best interests of children as well as adoptive parents as
Everything.
a priority.
Okay.
What do you say to people who say...
I would say it does have Christian values. I would say they help thousands of people who have nothing to do with adoption. You and I have spent a lot of time talking about adoption. One thing that hasn't come up in our conversation and that didn't come up
and that didn't come up, lied to by Christian World Adoption and has been traumatized by her experience being adopted into the United States.
And that didn't come up
in the... What would you say to her?
In the flyaway piece is that CWA actually operates one of the very few older children adoption programs. If CWA were motivated by profit, if CWA were motivated by numbers, then CWA would try to place only babies. They don't. They have an older children's program. And all of the spotlight that you've had really has been on an older children's program. They place older and special needs children where other agencies won't.
But what would you say to a 16-year-old girl who had been traumatized by having been lied to by CWA?
Well, first of all, you're presuming that that happened, right? You don't have any proof of that. You don't have any evidence of that. This is, again, one of those kind of things like there's several workers who were from MOA that you mentioned before. I don't know if these things are even true. But the second thing I would say is I really doubt that a 16-year-old girl was lied to in the fashion you told me. It just doesn't make sense, Marianne. There's so many children that are available. Why twist and contort and steal and harvest? Why do those things if there's so many children who legitimately need help? It just doesn't make sense.
One of your Ethiopian senior staff, a man by the name of Hanek, was arrested near Sheshemani 2 months ago. Can you tell me why he was arrested?
I don't know for sure. I know that he was arrested. My understanding, at least, was in part because of this flyaway piece, that there were people who were foolish and who bought up the things that ABC spouted out. And that's probably underscores the importance of us being careful with our words. Things that I think have really been carelessly thrown about have had huge ramifications in people's lives. There are American families right now whose adoptions are delayed. There are Australian families who aren't adopting at all. There are children, like the little girl you saw in the street, who are not being cared for, who are still in the street because of what I believe to be reckless and careless words that unfortunately you and others have thrown out without proof.
What about JCICS's investigation into CWA that it launched after our story? Can you tell me anything about where that's at, or what they've disclosed to you about that?
I'll tell you what I know. They certainly were concerned, as everyone would have been. In America, typically, news agencies are very credible. And so when something comes across as seen as a news piece, particularly on a scale like yours, people take it very seriously, as if some serious journalism had been done. And so JCICS presumed that too, as did many people. To my knowledge, no grievance has ever been filed despite JCICS looking into the issue. So I can only read between the lines. I can only read conjecture.
So for CWA, it's business as usual?
Well, that's a loaded statement, isn't it? So for CWA, it's let's go help children. Let's do everything we can to pour out ourselves to get needy children coupled with capable, caring parents. And if you live in America and you need help, if you care about that, then CWA is a great agency for you.
And as far as you know, the JCICS investigation is over and done with?
I don't know anything else other than I've told you. If they have some other concern or if there's some pending investigation, I don't know about it. Do you know any information about any of that?
No.
Okay, just the way you asked the question.
I just wondered.
Sure.
Yeah.
And to probe it. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me just a little bit about Tommy Lee Harding and her standing in the industry?
Her reputation among other adoption agencies?
And her standing in the sense of her history with JCICS and so forth. I know on its website, on CWA's website, it says that she was a former president of JCICS and is a board member.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So you don't know about...
I can't tell you all of her accomplishments and accolades any more than I could tell you all of yours. I know that she is a very accomplished individual in the area of international adoptions. I know she's very well respected. I know that she has held a number of posts. I know that she is someone who is often looked to for advice and counsel in the area of international adoptions. I know that she has adopted herself. I know that they're caring and compassionate parents. Do you know something? Do you have a personal issue with Tommy?
No, not at all. I just need somebody to talk about, her standing within the industry.
I know of nothing adverse in her standing in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Just the last little bit, just with regard to contracts, why is it necessary for CWA to have in their contracts an arbitration clause absolving it of any legal responsibility? Any other profession where you're working within the public interest, for example, doctors and so forth, are held accountable for their practice. Why do adoption agency contracts?
I know you're not a lawyer, but really what you said was illogical. What an arbitration provision does is exactly what it does is it structures a process for a resolution. It's not a way of not having a resolution. Maybe you don't know how these things work, but in America, if someone is aggrieved, they can file a lawsuit. That's one, and that's a public process, out in the public. Okay, it takes a long time. It's really usually very expensive. In my view, I litigate cases regularly. It has a lot of disadvantages. Another approach is a process called mediation. In mediation, the parties appoint a neutral, and that neutral will try to work out a resolution that the two parties can agree on. A third alternative is something called arbitration. And in arbitration, the parties will hire an independent judge. There'll be a full review of the facts, just like in a court of law, except instead of using the public process, a private judge does it.